Namo. Let's pay homage to the Blessed One, Supremely Enlightened Buddha. Sadhu, sadhu. Let's pay homage to our teacher, Swami Nandaka. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Now we are going to learn the Sutta from the Anguttara Nikaya. Remember, we did the first half of the Sutta last time. So this is the Sakkacca Sutta from the book of the Sevens. Do you remember what we learned from this sutta? So when Sariputta Bhante was meditating, this thought came to his mind, right? About the qualities that would help the practitioner to develop wholesome qualities and to give up unwholesome qualities. So, and Sariputta Bhante recognized, okay, these are the factors that one should honor and respect in order to develop wholesome qualities and to give up unwholesome qualities, which is very important because when we try to follow this path, we know that our goal is always to give up unwholesome qualities in our life, the negative qualities, defilements, because Buddha realized these unwholesome qualities, negative qualities, defilements are the reason for the suffering in life, right? These negative, unwholesome qualities are the ones that take beings to lower realms, painful worlds. And also these unwholesome qualities are the root cause of all beings' pain and misery. So then one of the main goals in this Dhamma path is to give up, to abandon, to eradicate all these unwholesome qualities. And the other thing is, there are so many noble qualities, wholesome qualities, spiritual qualities, which we have not yet developed in our life, such as mindfulness, awareness, wisdom, right? Sense restraint, precepts, samadhi, jhanas, concentration, true realization, vipassana knowledge. These are all beautiful qualities, noble qualities we have not yet achieved. So then the next goal is to achieve and develop these noble qualities. And so because this goal is very important, Sariputta Bhante realized if a practitioner honor and respect and rely on the Sattara, we learned about that. If somebody honors the enlightened one, if somebody respects the enlightened one, if somebody relies on the Blessed One's guidance, that is the first factor, the supporting factor to achieve that goal. Okay. And the second one is respecting and honoring the teachings of the enlightened one. The third one is respecting and honoring the community of the disciples of the Buddha, Sangha. And the third one is to respect and honor the training. The fourth one, Sikkhaṃ, right? So that is the training. And then the next one is to respect and honor Samadhi, the concentration, right? And then the next one, one should respect and honor diligence, appamāda, right? Giving priority to this Dhamma path. That's the meaning of appamāda. And finally, to honor and respect hospitality, right? So these are the factors as Sariputta Bhante realized. And then Sariputta Bhante wanted to go to the Buddha and explain about what the Sariputta Bhante was thinking while he was in seclusion, right? So let's see about Buddha's explanation.
Then he thought, these qualities are pure and bright in me. Why don't I go and tell them to the Buddha? Then these qualities will not only be purified in me, but will be better known as purified. Suppose a man were to acquire a gold coin, pure and bright. They would think, my gold coin is pure and bright. Why don't I take it to show the smith? Then it will not only be purified, but will be better known as purified. In the same way, these qualities are pure and bright in me. Why don't I go and tell them to the Buddha? Then these qualities will not only be purified in me, but will be better known as purified. Then in the late afternoon, Sariputta came out of retreat and went to the Buddha. He bowed, sat down to one side, and told the Buddha of his thoughts while on retreat.
So Sariputta Bhante explained everything that he was thinking about, right? So Buddha was listening, and then what did Buddha say?
Good, Sariputta.
See here, sadhu, sadhu, Sariputta, right? So we say, still we say that, right? In sadhu, sadhu. So that is the translation. Good, excellent, right?
A mendicant should honor and respect and rely on the teacher to give up the unskillful and develop the skillful. A mendicant should honor and respect and rely on the teaching, the sangha, the training, immersion, diligence. A mendicant should honor and respect and rely on hospitality to give up the unskillful and develop the skillful. When he said this, Venerable Sariputta said to the Buddha, Sir, this is how I understand the detailed meaning of the Buddha's brief statement.
Okay, very good. So these are the supporting factors to develop wholesome qualities. The first one is to honor and respect the enlightened one, right? We learned about these in details, right? During the last class. And the second one, to honor and respect the teachings. Dhamma, right? The Dhamma. Third one, to honor and respect the Sangha. The enlightened monks and nuns, the enlightened community, the disciples of the Buddha who have already completed the practice and who are following the path, right? The virtuous disciples of the Buddha. Number 4. Yeah, training. To respect the training. That means when you respect the training, you take these the practice seriously, and you always wanted to follow how Buddha asked you to practice. You want to practice in line with the teachings of the Buddha, because you respect the training. You don't do what you want to do, right? Then you don't respect the training. But here you want to respect the training, means you want to always follow what Buddha asked you to follow. What Buddha asked you to abandon, then you try to abandon them. What Buddha asked you to cultivate in you, then you try to cultivate in them, because you have respect for the training. So that definitely helps the practitioners to give up unwholesome qualities and to develop wholesome qualities. And the fifth one is the samadhi, right? Concentration. And the sixth one is diligence. To respect diligence. Number 7 is to respect and honor the hospitality. For Dhamma discussion in some translations. Okay, now you can see all the 7 factors. This is what Sariputta Bhante, Sariputta Thero realized as the supporting factors to the spiritual path, and then Sariputta Bhante went to the Buddha, and then Buddha approved it, right? Buddha rejoiced in those words of the Arahant Sariputta Thero. And then after Buddha approved of all these qualities, then Sariputta Bhante added, saying, Bhante, I understand the detailed meaning of the Dhamma approved by the Buddha. And now from this point on, Sariputta Bhante is going to explain how these factors are really going to help a practitioner to develop wholesome qualities. Okay? So Sariputta Bhante here explains.
Sir, this is how I understand the detailed meaning of the Buddha's brief statement. It's quite impossible for a mendicant who doesn't respect the teacher to respect the teaching. A mendicant who disrespects the teacher disrespects the teaching.
Okay, so that is interesting.
Yeah.
You cannot respect the Dhamma without respecting the Buddha, the enlightened, right? Because the Buddha is the one who discovered the teachings. If you like to develop wholesome qualities, you have to understand that we need to respect the enlightened one, and then we will respect the teachings of the enlightened one as well. And then
it's quite impossible for a mendicant who doesn't respect the teacher and the teaching to respect the Sangha. A mendicant who disrespects the teacher and the teaching disrespects the Sangha.
Okay, now can you understand how they are all linked together? So you cannot say, somebody cannot say, I respect the Dhamma, I respect the Buddha, but I don't need these books. That the teaching should come within yourself. That means he says he respects the Buddha, but he rejects the Dhamma. Because Dhamma, where we can find the Dhamma? It's in these books. The collection of the long-length discourses of the Buddha, the collection of the middle-length discourses of the Buddha, the collection of the connected discourses of the Buddha, the collection of the numerical discourses of the Buddha, the collection of the minor discourses of the Buddha, Digha Nikaya, Majjhima Nikaya, Anguttara Nikaya, Samyutta Nikaya, and Khuddaka Nikaya. This is where you find the Dhamma. Because Buddha is not with us today. And when Buddha was alive, Buddha very well organized these teachings so that the future generations will have the access for the same teachings that the Buddha was teaching for 45 years in India. So these are not just texts. These are not things that somebody just wrote. These are not some ordinary person's personal opinions. These are direct words of the Buddha. This is the Dhamma. So in order to understand the Dhamma through our own investigation, through our realization, we first need to study the Dhamma, right? Shouldn't we? There are only two people in this world who don't need the Dhamma to learn it from somebody else. There are only two people. First person is the private Buddha. Second person is the fully enlightened Buddha. They don't learn the Dhamma from somebody else. Those two types of beings are the ones who realize the Dhamma by themselves. They don't have teachers. The private Buddha doesn't have a teacher. The fully enlightened Buddha doesn't have a teacher. That's why we call the Samma Sambuddha. The one who realized the truth by himself without the help of a teacher. Everyone else should learn it from the Buddha. And after Buddha passed away, Dhamma is the thing that guides us. Buddha said, after my passing away, Dhamma becomes your Satta, the teacher, like the enlightened one. So how much respect should we have towards these discourses? That is why, like, if somebody really respects the enlightened one, they respect the teachings, the Dhamma, the discourses of the Buddha. And very clearly, Sariputta Bhante explains, it is impossible for a person who does not respect the Blessed One to respect the Dhamma. It is impossible. The person who disrespects the teaching, the enlightened one disrespects the teaching as well. And also, if somebody disrespects the Buddha and the Dhamma, also disrespect the Sangha. And then Sariputta Bhante explains, it is quite impossible for a mendicant who does not respect the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha to respect the path, the training. Right? So the person who disrespects the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha also disrespects the training, the spiritual path. It is quite impossible for a mendicant who does not respect the teacher, the Dhamma, the Sangha, and the training to respect Samadhi, concentration. What happens is, a mendicant who disrespects the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, and the training disrespects Samadhi. It is quite impossible for a mendicant who does not respect the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, the training, the Samadhi to respect diligence. The person who disrespects the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, the training, the Samadhi disrespects diligence. So that means, without having this trust in the person, here the Buddha, how can we practice the path? Like, even in the ordinary world, ordinary life, let's say you go for a driving school to learn about driving for the first time. Shouldn't you have trust about the person who teaches you? Otherwise, he asks you to turn left and you turn right. You think, oh, he doesn't know where to turn. I am the one who knows. Right? Even in the ordinary world, just to learn driving, we should have trust about the person who is teaching us. How about the spiritual path? We have no idea about what is happening inside the mind. We have no idea about the cause and effect mechanism that functions in this life. We don't know how karma works. It's a very subtle thing, very deep thing about this life. Shouldn't we have that trust about the enlightened one who discovered this and teaches us it out of compassion? So that's the confidence. That's the respect. And finally, Sariputta Bhante explains, it is quite impossible for a mendicant who does not respect the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, the training, the Samadhi, the diligence to respect hospitality or the Dhamma discussion. The person who disrespects the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, the training, Samadhi, diligence also disrespects hospitality or the Dhamma discussion. It is quite impossible for a mendicant who does respect the teacher to disrespect the Dhamma. So they also go together. If somebody respects the Buddha, he also respects the Dhamma. If somebody says, no, I respect the Dhamma, but we can see that he does not respect the Buddha, then that means even though he says he respects the teachings, he does not respect the teaching nor the Buddha. A mendicant who respects the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha, the training, Samadhi, and diligence respects hospitality. So they are all linked to them. If somebody respects the Buddha, that means he respects all these qualities. And then Sariputta Bhante explained, that is how I understand the detailed meaning of the Buddha's brief statement. And then the Buddha again approved, saying, Sadhu, Sadhu, Sariputta, very good, excellent Sariputta. It is good that you understand the detailed meaning of what I have said in brief, like this. So then the Buddha would explain the same thing again, how these things are interconnected, and you cannot drop any of these. So that is the beautiful sutta about the honor and respect. So now do you remember how they were? If somebody respects the Buddha, that means he respects the Dhamma, Sangha, training, concentration, diligence, and hospitality. If somebody does not respect the Buddha, that means he does not respect any of these. So
we're talking about the teaching. Where is the difference between the teaching and the training?
Yes, teaching is the discourses of the Buddha that we learn. We have to learn it from a Kalyana Mitta, Dhamma friend, spiritual friend, right? We have to learn it. So that is the Dhamma. That is the teaching.
So the training is
training happens when you learn the teachings and now you want to put it into practice. So training involves in the practice of the Noble Eightfold Path. The
fact that you have learned is now the training.
Now you have to put things into practice, right? So Sikkha means Sila, Samadhi, Panya. Training means virtue, concentration, and wisdom. So you can see all of these you have to practice. So that's the training. Virtue means precepts, we have to practice. Concentration means samadhi, meditation, we have to practice. Wisdom means seeing things as they really are.
So in other words, you respect your own learned facts, or the training that you have received
from the
Dhamma. So you're respecting your wholesome qualities.
Yeah. And you value them. You understand the supporting factors for the growth of them. So it's respecting the path practice.
But it's a different question than from the sutta. But I was contemplating karma, body, speech, and mind. As I contemplated it, I could see with body the karmic actions of what you do, good or bad. Speech, the karmic actions of what you do, good or bad. But through mind, I was wondering, okay, if I have a bad thought, is that bad karma, or is that the seed? If I have a bad thought and I go to say something, but then I'm mindful and I don't say it, I've stopped that karma. So I'm just wondering, how can karma be through mind of thought when we have bad and good thoughts that come through our minds all the time that we have no control over? So is that just the seed of what could come up if you now act on it through your speech and your actions? That's my question.
Okay, so it's very normal for everybody's mind to have a stream of negative, unwholesome thoughts. It's not unusual, right? It's a very common thing. Even though we don't like to have negative thoughts in our mind, still they come, right? So in that case, like, first, the main thing is that we should not think that, oh, I am very unfortunate, still these unwholesome thoughts are arising in my mind, right? We should not regret about the unwholesome things that arise in our mind. Then if we feel regret, if we feel remorse about what is going on inside the mind, then we are not going to progress. We are not going to achieve any improvement. That is very dangerous, because we cannot stop that at this stage. They are going to keep coming. But when unwholesome things arise in our mind, and if we recognize them as they arise, before our negative thoughts transform into actions or words. If we can stop them using our mindfulness, our wisdom, definitely at that point we are making good karma. When unwholesome things arise, we should not be sad. Oh, now I made powerful bad karma now because I got angry. I have this anger in my mind. That's not the way to think. We recognize our angry thoughts or any other unwholesome thoughts, and then we make an effort. So that is another volitional effort we make inside the mind. That is definitely good karma. What we should focus on is that good karma. We should not think, oh, I had an angry thought. We should think, yes, I had an angry thought, but I made an effort. I made a volitional effort and I stopped it. I gave it up. So I made powerful good karma. That is what happens when we try to keep precepts. We try to abstain from killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, and taking intoxicants. We try to abstain from means we make a volitional effort to avoid doing those. That is how when we follow precepts, we make good karma. There is an effort there to avoid doing it. There is an effort to control that anger, not to speak angry words, not to do actions with anger. So that's definitely good karma. When we continue with this practice, when the mindfulness grows, right, wisdom improves, we will be able to control lots of things happening in the mind. So then our bodily actions will be purified, our verbal actions will be purified. And also, in one of the suttas, Buddha teaches, if we do something unwholesome with the body, the way to rehabilitate is that we should open it up. We should go to a knowledgeable friend. We should go to a Bhante, a spiritual friend, and we should open it up. We should explain, this is what happened. I was unmindful. I made this mistake. I made the wrongdoing. Please accept my wrongdoing as wrongdoing, and I want to rehabilitate. I'll make sure that I will not do this again. If we do like that, or for example, if we break precepts, we don't hide them, and we understand, okay, I broke a precept, right? I told a lie, and now you realize it. Either you go to a knowledgeable friend and explain that this is what happened, or you observe precepts again. From now on, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to practice all the 5 precepts. From that moment on, you don't need to regret on the past, what happened in the past. Because when you realize the mistake and you want to refresh your precepts, from that moment on, you are making good karma. Because you have realized your mistake and you want to improve yourself. Now you don't need to think about the past, and you can think, okay, I did a very difficult thing. I didn't hide my wrongdoing. I re-observed precepts. Now I have established in the precepts. So now you think about your precepts. Now you think about the virtue. You don't think about the previous mistakes. So that's the way to rehabilitate for the actions, evil actions done by body. Okay? And then Buddha teaches in the same sutta, if we say something unwholesome with our words, the way to rehabilitate is the same way. We have to open it up. We should not hide it. But when it comes to the mind, Buddha doesn't ask us to do the same thing. This is also important when we are talking about the karma connected with unwholesome thoughts and how to overcome the karma which has already accumulated because of our unwholesome thoughts. This is also important to know. When we have unwholesome thoughts in the mind, Buddha didn't ask us to go to a person and explain, this is what was going in my mind. This is what I was thinking. Buddha doesn't ask us to do that. And Buddha doesn't say that it is the way to rehabilitation. Instead, Buddha says, when unwholesome things arise in our mind, we should be ashamed of those thoughts, and we should reject those minds from our mind. That's all we need to do. So we think, oh, now I am thinking these unwholesome thoughts. These are very dangerous thoughts. These are not good for me. I should not think about these thoughts. That's all we need to do when unwholesome thoughts are happening in the mind. Otherwise, if we had to go to somebody and explain every time when unwholesome thoughts happens, imagine, we cannot do anything else. Right? Every time, right? So how many unwholesome thoughts are arising in the mind? So did you understand how to rehabilitate with bodily and verbal actions, and also how to rehabilitate with mental actions? Okay.
If yourself unwholesome thoughts. Because when you go to a friend, let's compare this in Christianity, it's confession, right? So you're confessing to priest, let's say.
But this is not only confession. This is not only confession. You re-observe the precepts. You make a determination not to do the same mistake again.
So it really is realization.
Realization, yeah, mindfulness.
Yeah.
It's connected. This is from the Nandaka Sutta, from the Book of the Nines. Here, at one time, the Buddha was staying near Savatthi in Jethas Grove, Anathapindika's monastery. Now, at that time, Venerable Nandaka was educating, encouraging, firing up, and inspiring the mendicants in the assembly hall with the Dhamma talk. So, who was teaching the Dhamma? Venerable Nandaka Thero. He was teaching the Dhamma, not the Buddha. Then in the late afternoon, the Buddha came out of retreat from meditation and went to the assembly hall. So now Buddha went to the same assembly hall. Buddha didn't go inside. Buddha stood outside the door waiting for the talk to end. Can you imagine the respect the Buddha had for the Dhamma? Because Buddha knew a monk was teaching. Can't even imagine how much respect the Buddha had for the Dhamma. When the Buddha knew the talk had ended, the Buddha cleared his throat and knocked with the latch. So that's the way normally in the time of the Buddha, how they did before they entered a room or a hall. Then the monks opened the door for the Buddha. Then only they realized, oh, the Blessed One was waiting and waiting and waiting there. Then the Buddha entered the assembly hall where the Buddha sat on the seat spread out. Buddha said to Nandaka, Nandaka, that was a long exposition of teaching you gave to the monks. You gave a long Dhamma talk. My back was aching while I stood outside the door waiting for the talk to end. So, for a long time, Buddha was waiting and waiting. Now you understand how to respect the Dhamma. When the Buddha said this, Nandaka, the Venerable Nandaka felt embarrassed. He was sad because the enlightened one, right? The Buddha was waiting outside the hall, right? For maybe hours, right? And said to the Buddha, Bhante, We didn't know. I didn't know that the Buddha was standing outside the door. If I had known, I wouldn't have said so much. My Dhamma talk could have been shorter. Then the Buddha, knowing that Nandaka was embarrassed, said to Nandaka Bhante. Now Buddha saw that Nandaka Bhante was sad, but then Buddha wanted to encourage Nandaka Bhante, saying, no, you don't need to be sad. Very good, what you did. It is appropriate for a monk like you who have gone forth in faith from the lay life to homelessness to sit together for a Dhamma talk. No, you did great thing. You were sharing the Dhamma. There is nothing wrong of it, right? And then Buddha advised, when you are sitting together, you should do one of two things: discuss the teachings or keep noble silence. That's a powerful advice. You should not gossip. You should not chat. You should not talk unbeneficial, meaningless things. You should either discuss the teachings, the Dhamma you have learned, or practice meditation. That's the meaning of keeping noble silence. So this advice is repeated maybe thousands of times, more than thousands of times throughout the teachings, the discourses, 18,000 discourses of the Buddha. Then Buddha is teaching, saying, Nandaka, a monk is faithful but not ethical. Saddocha Nandaka bhikkhu hoti nocha silava. So there is a possibility. So he is faithful. That means his sraddha, his faith, confidence is increasing, but his precepts are not fully observed. Okay. So, and then Buddha teaches, Evang sotenangena aparipuro hoti. So he is incomplete in that respect. Right? So if we take about Shraddha and Sila. So these are the two Pali words. Shraddha. Second one, Sila. Sila means precepts. So we know the path to end suffering is Noble Eightfold Path, right? So in these different discourses, Buddha teaches the same Noble Eightfold Path in different ways. This is nothing else than the Noble Eightfold Path. This is the Buddha teaches the path to end suffering in this discourse as well. But the 8 factors of the Noble Eightfold Path are presented in a different way in this sutta. That's all. So Buddha teaches, when you try to develop wholesome qualities and to abandon unwholesome qualities, when you follow the path, the first one should be Shraddha, the honor, respect towards the enlightened one, your confidence in the enlightenment of the Buddha. That means you know that Buddha has realized these things very well. Buddha escaped from suffering, and now Buddha taught the Dhamma for the others so that others also can escape from suffering. You have that confidence. That's why you want to follow this. So that definitely helps. So in this case, the monk is faithful, or any practitioner is faithful, but he has problems with Sila. It's not fully followed. And he should fulfill it, thinking. So should he be sad, thinking, oh, sometimes I break precepts? No, sadness is not the solution. He should think, how can I become faithful and virtuous? Kintahang saddocha asang silavachati. So then he makes an effort. He understands why I break precepts. Then he realizes, okay, I have some friends with bad qualities because I associate with them, I break precepts, and so he realizes, okay, so I should make some adjustments to my lifestyle, and I find good friends with good qualities. So he makes an effort to follow the precepts. So when a practitioner is faithful and virtuous, he is complete in that respect. So these are the first two factors of the path according to this explanation here. Are these things enough? No. There are more things in the list. Then Buddha teaches, a practitioner is faithful and virtuous, but does not get internal serenity of heart. Okay, so this is the third one. He has saddha, he has sila, but he does not nocha labhi ajhattang cheto samadhissa. That's the Pali word. So third one, this is beautiful, right? Ajhattang cheto samadhi. What is the third one? So this is the first one. This is the first one. This is second one. This is the third one. So the meaning: this is faith. This is virtue. This is concentration. Same thing we learned before, right? So now he has two things. He has faith because he worked on these, right? He has faith. He has virtue. So he's practicing precepts. He's maybe practicing 5 precepts, 8 precepts 4 times a month, at least 8 precepts, advanced precepts. So he's practicing. But now he has to work on the third one. Why? Because he does not get internal serenity of heart. That means he does not get the clarity inside the mind, the calmness. So that is the samatha. His meditation is not going well at this stage. Why? Because of the 5 hindrances. This is where now he is suffering. Why the concentration, the meditation is not happening well? Because he is troubled by these things, these negative things. Thoughts of worldly desires, right? So thoughts of worldly desires can be about anything, right? Thoughts about food, thoughts about movies, thoughts about music, thoughts about songs, thoughts about any agreeable things. And that is an obstacle for the internal serenity of the mind. That's an obstacle for the meditation. Right? When we are sitting for the meditation, if these thoughts bother us, then we are not meditating. Right? It's very difficult to meditate. Now this is what is happening to this practitioner. And then another thought is angry thoughts. Angry thoughts. That is another reason why the concentration is not happening well. And then restlessness, remorse, regret, remorse, sleepiness, drowsiness, finally doubt. These are the reasons why he doesn't have the third one. So what are the reasons? The obstacles for the meditation? Can you read?
Thoughts of worldly desire, angry thoughts, restlessness and remorse, sleepiness, drowsiness, doubt.
No, these are the reasons. Now Buddha teaches, because of these problems, he is incomplete in that respect. Now he should fulfill it thinking, how can I become faithful, virtuous, and get internal serenity of the mind? How to develop samadhi as well. How to develop samadhi? Now the person has to make strong effort to abandon these obstacles. That is the way to develop samadhi. But you need 3 things to develop samadhi. Not only abandoning these 5, but 3 things. They are the right effort. Second one. So these 3 things will make the meditation successful. What are they?
Right.
So this is the unification of the mind, and this unification of the mind is supported by the meditation object, either breathing or postures, mindfulness of breathing, mindfulness of postures, mindfulness of the impurities of the body, like that, or mindfulness of the feelings, mindfulness of the different mental states, right? Or mindfulness of the wisdom factors. That is how you develop the concentration. You need the right mindfulness aspect, and it is supported by the right effort. You are making an effort while abandoning unwholesome qualities. So then you maintain right effort, right mindfulness, and the unification of the mind, and the result will be this. Result will be ajjatan cheto samadhi, concentration. Is that clear? That is why meditation, mindfulness, and all these things are very important. Because you cannot drop this. You cannot drop the samadhi, internal samadhi. Because Buddha teaches, if you drop this, its path is incomplete. You cannot say, oh, vipassana. Vipassana is the main thing. No need samadhi, no need samatha. You disrespect the training, you disrespect the Buddha's words, you disrespect the Dhamma. You're not going to achieve anything. Because you might hear sometimes, some people say, no, vipassana is the main thing, vipassana is enough. Then you drop this. And in Buddha's words, Buddha says, so thenangena aparipuro hoti, then your path is incomplete. Is that clear?
A question about defining interest. To get rid of defining interest, especially the first one, doubt. Right? So the doubt is, if someone has that interest more, someone will not be able to take a decision making. Always will be confusion.
Confused about the path, confused about the training, confused about the past lives, future lives, karma. It can be anything.
What about
How to
even
overcome?
a normal situation, not only in the past life, even taking some decision about the life, about the career or something like that, even starting.
No, uncertainty, right? Uncertainty. Yeah, and doubtful.
Doubtful and not able to take a strong decision. Is that part of that?
So that's normally the worldly aspect of it. So in that case also the person has to overcome that. Otherwise he's not going to improve in the worldly life, because he's not certain about the things and he cannot make a correct decision in his life. He's always changing decisions, and it's not like very well established in what is he doing, right? Yeah. But in this case, doubt means it's more about the path. We have doubts like, thinking, am I doing the right thing? Is this the right meditation I should be practicing? Is the karma really exist? Is rebirth, is that true? These kind of doubts. So the way to overcome these kind of doubts, that you should associate with Dhamma friends, and you should study these teachings, you should listen to the Dhamma, and then the things will get clarified, and you will understand more things about this life, and you know what is happening. You don't have doubts. You don't have doubts about past lives, doubts about future lives, because you understand the cause and effect mechanism very well. You don't understand about how karma works. It's basically with the teachings of the Buddha plus your wise consideration. So two things will help you to overcome the doubts. Listening to Dhamma. Second one, wise reflection. You first study the teachings, and then you reflect on the meaning of the teachings. And then the things, like your doubts go away, and you understand things very clearly. This is how this works, this is how this works. Okay, so now you get three things completed. What are they? You have Shraddha, you have Sila, you have Samadhi, right? Yeah. You have faith, confidence in the enlightenment Buddha. You are keeping precepts, concentration, right? And you practice mindfulness, meditation, right? So you practice thoughts of detachment instead of thoughts of worldly desires. Instead of angry thoughts, yeah, now you develop a mind of compassion, loving kindness. And then you make energy to overcome sleepiness and drowsiness, right? And we talked about how to overcome the doubts. So it's a big task, right? You have to do many things. That's why it is not easy to stop suffering. That's why Buddha's always taught only a very few people will escape from this samsara, this suffering. The rest is merely running on the near shore. Very few will cross over to the farther shore, right? It's very difficult. It's very difficult because we have to practice by ourselves. There is no other external people who would do this for us. That's why this path is very special. And when the practitioner has all these three completed, Buddha teaches he is complete in that respect, right? But not fully completed the path. So he has Saddha, he has Sila, he has Samadhi, right? The Samatha. Na labhi adipanya dhamma vipassanaya. That's a long word. Beautiful word, powerful word. In the past, the words are longer. Now the modern world, they are shortening the words. Now see the length of these words. Adipanya dhamma vipassana, one word. And now everything is, think about now, like everybody's needs short, right? YouTube shorts, Instagram, whatever. Always now things are becoming, I don't know where this world is heading. So Adipanya Dhamma Vipassana. This is the fourth one. So this is the fourth one. Buddha teaches here, the practitioner has faith, virtue, he gets internal serenity of the mind, but he does not get the higher wisdom of discernment of principles. So that means he doesn't have wisdom to see things as they really are. That's the meaning. That's the fourth one. He doesn't have wisdom to see things as they really are. This is Vipassana. So can you jump to Vipassana by dropping Samatha? No, see the sequence the Buddha taught? Okay, now we learned about how to develop Samatha, right? We learned about the right effort with the culmination of right effort, right mindfulness and unification of the mind, right? The concentration happens. So when we talk about, and now Buddha teaches, so he is incomplete in that respect because he doesn't have the wisdom to see things as they really are. Now, before explaining about the fourth one, Buddha teaches a beautiful story here. Suppose Nandaka, there was a 4-footed animal that was lame and disabled. It would be incomplete in that respect. So he has only 3 legs, right? So can he walk properly, easily? No. The path is like that for this practitioner. It would be incomplete in that respect. In the same way, a practitioner is faithful, virtuous, gets internal serenity of the mind, but doesn't have the higher wisdom to see things as they really are. So he's incomplete in that respect. He should fulfill it thinking, how can I practice all these 4 qualities, right? And later he achieves all the 4 qualities. So about this, about the Vipassana knowledge, we need to understand, first we need to study the teachings about things as they really are. So in that case, we need to learn about cause and effect. It's really deep, right? You are in the deep Dhamma class. Cause and effect, mechanism. In order to develop Vipassana, one has to learn this. Or another word is dependent origination. Cause and effect mechanism or dependent origination. In Pali, Paticca Samuppada. And then about 6 senses. And then about 4 elements. And then 5 aggregates of clinging, 4 noble truths. These are like golden words, right? You don't find these words in the ordinary discussions, right? So these words appear into this world only after enlightened one appears into this world. Like golden like words. So in order to develop this one, the Vipassana knowledge, one has to learn these things well and then try to develop Vipassana knowledge in terms of understanding the true meaning. So what are those things?
6 senses, 4 elements, 5 aggregates of clinging, 4 noble.
Buddha teaches, then the practitioner is complete in that respect. So now you can see entire Noble Eightfold Path is described with these 4 factors. That's the amazing teaching skill of the enlightened one. The same the Noble Eightfold Path is described in so many different ways. So the Noble Eightfold Path is described here with the 4 factors, And what are those 4 factors? Faith, virtue, concentration, and wisdom. Yeah, wisdom. Good. So there are 18,000 discourses Buddha taught, and very well preserved and translated into many, many languages. All these discourses support for the practitioners to develop these wholesome qualities, to develop Shraddha, to develop Sila, to develop Samadhi, meditation, to develop Panya. What is wrong with? What is wrong learning them? What is wrong reading them? Is there any harm? There is no harm. We should be afraid of reading other worldly stuff. They will harm us. They will help us to have negative feelings, right? Bad, unwholesome thoughts. But not a single word in these discourses of the Buddha harms any being in this world. They are all beautiful, noble words that lead to the growth of these wholesome qualities. Okay? Very good.
I had a quick question. Question has to do with giving up the hindrances, giving up the hindrances to be a better person. The goal is good, but it still complicates things a little bit. Don't you think that there's a sense of self involved in there, wanting to be better? And I mean, of course, you want to do it, but is that a problem? You know what I'm asking? I'm not sure I'm clear about it.
Okay, your question is clear. But even when the Buddha was teaching the Dhamma to lay people, Buddha would always encourage, because as lay people, they have to earn money, they have to do their job, they have to raise the family, they have lots of responsibilities, right? Buddha didn't encourage any lazy lay persons, lazy people. Buddha would always encourage people, saying Uttana Sampada. Buddha would say you shouldn't be lazy with your occupation, with your work. When you are reaching for your ordinary goals, you should be energetic. Those are the words Buddha uses. Be energetic. You should be think about improvement. The Pali word for that is Uttana Sampada. You should be energetic. You should be strategic. You should find new ways to develop your career, and so on. It's encouraged by the Buddha, because Buddha never praised the laziness in the lay life or the failures, right? Buddha wanted to encourage rich person righteously. And think about that, like when Buddha was explaining about the 5 precepts, the benefits of the 5 precepts, one of the benefits is that Buddha said the person who keeps the 5 precepts will be a rich person, because he is not wasting money. His money is not wasted for alcohol, for drugs, for other unnecessary things. So his money is saved. As a result, he will be a rich, wealthy person. So Buddha encouraged. But when we think about the deeper aspect of the training, we talk about achieving the advanced purity of the mind. So in that case, definitely we have to learn about the renunciation, detachment. So it's about the deeper aspect of the practice. Just 2 different levels. Okay, so everybody is happy learning the beautiful teachings of the Buddha, teachings of wisdom, teachings of true happiness.